is ready to go. I appreciate your patience. I hope you're doing well. Looks like we're about ready to go. I think that's everything. Alright, we're good to go. Good morning, everyone. I am the last Omnitech, your favorite robot American, and welcome to another Omni Draws session, this time for Gentry Delon Ain't No Fascist, my Helldivers 2 fan comic. Good morning. So, let's talk a little bit about what's going on, what I'm going to be working on today. I have been bandying about different ideas for the webcomic for a while, and for those of you who don't know, I have a plot in mind, but as I'm moving forward, I'm sort of fleshing out the art assets and stuff that I use for the webcomic. And if you're unfamiliar with this webcomic again, Gentry Delon Ain't No Fascist is an anti-fascist Helldiver 2 fan comic, focusing on what it takes to resist fascism, the pressures and the losses live under such a society, and also a tale of heroism in the face of conditioned obedience. I've been very much enjoying making it. We're right now on issue number 33. I think we're going on 32 or 33, and that's 4 panels per page. Lately, it's 2 full-size comic pages that are going to be, so it's just to be 2 pages per update, but it's 2 pages that are like full-size comic book pages as opposed to the little, like, 1080 by 1080 frames I've used in the past. So it's significantly more space, significantly more art. I will admit, I have been, as I've been slowly working on these characters, designing like little bits, little tidbits of what I want to do. So I've been working on the various characters for the webcomic, and we've been doing a lot of stuff with Gentry lately. I would like to do a little stuff with some of the other ministries that we'll be encountering in the webcomic. So I'm going to open up a little reference page here that I use occasionally. Here we go. Alright, so this goofy little web page here, this goofy little page is actually pretty useful for us. This shows us, I don't know how loud the music is. Can anyone hear me now? There we go. So, it wouldn't be a live stream if I didn't have some issues. Also, for the record, very quickly, I just wanted to mention, this is a sort of an aside, but an important one. My throat is sore right now. I might call the stream early, because I want to preserve my voice for this Saturday, because I do have a live stream TTRPG. So I might only go for an hour. Sorry. My throat is just murdering me right now. It's enough where I am chugging down smoothie and gargling halls every chance I get. It's probably just a minor, like, throat infection. Nothing serious. It's not like I'm delirious or anything, or have any fever or any other symptoms. It's just uncomfortable. And I don't want to lose my voice. I've been there plenty of times. It's not somewhere I want to be today. Alright. So, anyhow, let's take a look at what we've got here. So this is the web of interplay for every single faction and sub-faction that we'll be encountering in the webcomic. Now, at the moment, I've touched primarily on 2 big ones. We've done the Truth Enforcers, obviously Gentry and the Vanguard, But those are like the, I guess really we touched on 4. The TRA, which we've actually seen a couple of them. Not a lot, but like 1 or 2, you know? Enough. And we've also got the Truth Enforcers, we have the Vanguard, and of course, we have Gentry himself. Technically, Thief Command, I sort of incorporate the Helldivers into that vaguely. All the non-focused Helldivers. So today I'm going to be messing around with some of the different ones. We've done the Truth Enforcers, but the Ministry of Truth actually isn't the only force involved here. So there's the Ministry of Unity and the Ministry of Truth. They sort of play the same role in a lot of ways. The Ministry of Truth is technically a propaganda arm. The Ministry of Unity is both medicine and also policing, which is sort of interesting. So we get our democracy officers in Helldivers 2 from the Ministry of Truth. Those are the guys on our ships who are the propaganda officers, who are also authorized to take control of our super destroyers and kill us if we go off mission. It is the Ministry of Unity that does that for the average citizen. So, 2 different flavors of Gestapo. Hooray! What a lovely topic today. So, those 2 forces we're going to touch on a lot. But I also want to touch on the Ministry of Expansion. So the Ministry of Expansion is entertaining, and they're an interesting force here. So these guys, their whole purpose is to exploit the resources of the galaxy. That's why their logo is literally, in case you can't see because my head is in the way, a giant drill. I mean, it writes itself, right? Ah, thank you. Soothing my throat as best as I can. So, I actually want to do a little work with the Ministry of Expansion. I want to have a Helldiver aesthetic designed around it. So, we have our Inspector here. Inspector, the 3rd Division Truth Inspectors, and this is Inspector number 3, who is actually the leader of the 3rd Division. We're going to make a new sub-faction today. So we're going to save this as Helldivers 2, Ministry of... I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It was like the Ministry of Exploitation. I keep saying it wrong in my head, which is why I need these references. They're very helpful. Ministry of Expansion. That's where it is. Ministry of Expansion. Faction concept page. Okay. So, let's immediately get to some basics. First off, we gotta recolor this. Sorry, that's just the way it works. Let's slide this bad boy over to a nice, like, sea foam green. Yeah, it's about right. Cool. Next, we need a Ministry of Expansion logo. Thankfully, we have one. In fact, actually, if I open up the original document version of this, I should have it. Oh, beautiful. You gotta love it. We're gonna copy this. Perfect. We're gonna slap this on the Patreon, or on the banner. That's not what I wanted it. There we go. Cool. Okay. So we can turn that off, reduce the opacity a little bit on this, just a hair. Yo, Ito, good to see you, friend. Good to see you. We're also going to copy this again, duplicate, and bring it down a little bit. Now, this whole section is up to change, if need be. This is Ministry Expansion. There we go. Alright. Hopefully you didn't miss out on the fun here. No, you didn't, Ito. You actually caught in just in time. My throat is killing me today, So I'm glad you came in when you did. It's good to have you. Alright, so we're gonna just pop that over here. Beautiful. Let's actually, let's change the hue on that a little bit. There we go. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna do that. Put a little one more in the middle. We're gonna make this a little greener. And we can make that darker now. Beautiful. And we do the same thing there. Perfect. Now we can take that, hit the outline, and we have ourselves a pretty good setup here we can work around. I think we might do the darker, just because it helps. I'm also going to grab this. We're going to flip this, actually. Reverse. There we go. So now it's a little more visible. Beautiful. Hopefully didn't... But yes. So what are you up to today, my friend? How are you doing? We're going to reduce the opacity of this weird fuzzy thing I have in the background. I wonder if I can do top layer this. Okay, yeah, that works. That works. We just need to... I'd like to get the whole thing this bright, actually. Whoop. There's a Gundam, apparently. Let's fix that. Everybody just starting to reblog and scream at me, all my alerts going off at once. Alrighty. Rockin' and stoned the night away, mentally not so good, but otherwise I'm swell and glad. Might I recommend some warm water mixed with honey and lime? Yeah, I've been trying. It's just the way it's gonna be. Some days it's easier than others. Today it's specifically just being rough. And that's just all that there is to it. So we'll go with the white. We're gonna reverse this gradient. I'm gonna keep this brighter, actually. Make it a little more blue. There we go. We can take that. And that looks good to me. Cool. So let's take this. So we're gonna look at... I'm just randomly generating a number. For your third at least? No, that's fair. That's fair. It helps. It helps a little bit. Though, honestly, what I really need is just cough drops. This is what happens when there's like a shift in humidity for me. I'm from Central Florida, so I'm really used to super humid. And I live off a river, so it's still pretty humid up here. But, recently, we got a small, like... We used to have a little fan by our bedside that we would run at night because we live in a loft. Sort of keeps air circulation going. Unfortunately, the new one we got is it's great. It's fantastic. It's a little too great. It's drying my throat out as I sleep. So I need to stop sleeping with my mouth open like a doofus, basically. Until then, my throat's just going to be torched. That's really what it comes down to. Then I might have like a minor throat infection. It's nothing to write home about. It's not like I'm getting a fever or anything. Just a little scratchy. I feel like I've been trying to get sick for a couple days on top of all of it. So it's kind of one of those, like, it's a perfect combination of, I hope I'm not going to be able to speak in a few days. Anyway, bottoms up for the halls. I'll live. It's not a big deal. Appreciate your concern, though. This, however, will take care of it. A lozenge is a very effective tool at managing that. Alright. So let's see. So we're going to have the Ministry of Expansion. So let's go with the... I'm going to randomly just throw out a number here. And by randomly throw out a number, I'm going to have crit dice do it. Because I like to randomize my dice numbers. Let's have it be actually a D50. Okay. Alright. 18. That works. 18th. So let's see. 18th Division. Now, there's conservation force. I think that would be the word I want to use. Conservation Rangers. Cool. So 18th Division Conservation Rangers. And this is a Sieve Helldiver specifically. This would be Ministry of Expansion, so this would be Resource Exploit, or I guess Recon? This would technically be Recon, is be what they would fall under. So the idea that I'm thinking of is these guys go to different planets and they assess how, like, valuable or useful the resources are. So I guess that proper, like, it's hard to say. Assessment? Resource assessment. Yeah, there we go. Sieve Helldiver Resource Assessment Division. That will do nicely. We can now take this, reduce the opacity a little more. Cool, so now that shows up a little more clearly. I kind of want to, like, darken this whole bit here. It's one of those, like, I want to do the thing, but I just don't know how to do the thing. Eve. Alright. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take that, swap that out as well. Beautiful. And now I'm going to... What if I just add a darker shade of this in? That's not a bad look, but it doesn't show up very well. It's that struggle, right? Where it's like, I need to get that nice teal. I think the solution is I need to make the back... Yeah, I need to reshade the back environment, just make it a little darker. So we're just going to hit in here, and just... Boop. There we go. That shows up so much better. Holy cannoli. That's so much more clear. That is so much visually more appealing. Yeah. Something that goes along with survey. Yep, you nailed it, you nailed it. And I misspelled assessment. Whoops. I think survey works better. It's Conservation. I think survey rangers is proper. I like that. It's like conservation rangers or resource assessment. Like, it's... Yeah, we'll stay resource assessment division. I like the idea of that, though. We can get rid of one of these elements. I do not need the Truth Enforcer logo. And we're just going to completely block out some of these components here. So let's start from scratch. Just going to pop in, copy, delete. Copy, delete, copy, delete, copy, delete, delete. Everything must die. Okay, cool. We're all good. So, let's take a look at what we're going to be doing for our swatches here. I'm going to move this over here, and we're just going to pull. We have a red cloth swatch, visor swatch, metal swatch. Metal swatch is going to stay the same. That's not going to change. Same thing with white cloth. But I want these guys to feel a little bit more robust. Have a little more flavor to them, you know? So, I'm thinking what we're going to do is we're going to use some of the more rangery, leathery kind of Helldiver outfits. I wonder if I could... maybe. We'll do this at some point. Let's see. So, Helldivers 2, armor sets. Okay. You guys aren't seeing me doing this off on the side because I do not trust Google. Ever. Alright. So we have... If I'm looking at some of the assets here that might work, I'm going for ones that are practical. So, Predator, the Noxious Ranger actually works pretty well, as does the Heat Seeker. The Obedience, an interesting one, but I think that's a little creepy. I want to save that. I'm going to show you guys some of the ones that I'm talking about here. Here we go. So you guys are familiar with this one here. Who isn't familiar with this armor set? The literal... the Killzone armor set. I really like this. But I'm saving this armor set for other assets, so we're not going to use that. The Heat Seeker is the fire-based one. We're not using that one either. As fun as it is. And it is quite fun. But we're not using that one. The Noxious Ranger is very useful. Because it gives off mild spacesuit vibes. And the Predator is just the classic Rambo look. I feel like having exposed skin isn't a bad idea for, like, hotter environments, but these guys are going to, like, totally hostile worlds, so I'm not sure that's a good idea. Yeah, the trench coat type ship. Yeah. The Ravager is interesting. So, contains many small pockets, allowing the user to evenly distribute the weight of ammunition samples and cool rocks. I kind of like that. That feels very appropriate right out of the gate. It does have a lot of ammo on it, though. Eradicator, first deployed in the mines of Cyberstain, where it offers protection against explosions in hydrogen-rich caverns. Also a useful set. Again, I'm kind of dabbling on the edge of it here. We're not using the jackboot. Also, I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. Can you guys hear the rain? Hold on. Let me pause this. I have the gain turned up as high as I can. Love me some rain. Okay, so. Alright. So these are all the lightweight armors. I would like the mediums as well. Let's take a look at the helmets. Ambassador of the Brand. I forgot about that one. In terms of armor set, I want it to be something effective. The Trailblazer Scout is really good for this. Like, the classic Trailblazer armor set might be the go-to, because it's very good at just sneaking around, not being observed. I might do the Steel Trooper as well, because it's got that cool little scanner. Let's take a look at some of these other ones here. The Eradicator, that's very... The Eradicator I might use because it gives me super strong, like, Scout Trooper vibes. It immediately makes... It screams like the Scout Troopers on Endor, the Endor Troopers. I think being fully covered is better, just in case a planet there on its dust storms rip the skin off. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm looking at some of these other designs, and there's some interesting helmet designs. The Arctic Ranger looks really cool. It really does. That is a very distinctive aesthetic to it. I would want to recolor it, though. As is the Gorilla. They really went all out with that name, didn't they? The Hazmaster is really useful. Like, I feel like the Hazmaster is great for certain ones. I feel like what I'll do is I'll make, like, multiple, like, get-ups for these guys, so it just shows, like, whatever world they're on. Because the Hazmaster is so perfect. Like, look at that. That's actually pretty great. Just right out of the gate. The Gorilla is too hefty, but the helmet looks great. Usually I just combine elements of it. Okay, so you have the Eradicator. The Breaker helmet actually looks pretty good. It's very complicated, though. It really does feel like someone just rammed 80 different pieces into it. Which is very funny. Okay. So I think that's our solution here. We're going to use a combination of the... I think, yeah, we'll go with the Eradicator. And I want to, like, slightly change the armor set. Also, let's zoom out. I have this very zoomed in. I want the armor. We have mediums. Okay. The Alpha Commander looks pretty good. Drone Masters. The Drone Master actually has some promise. Because that looks like something that's designed to be rugged. And I think... What about the Dutiful? I'm not familiar with the Dutiful one. Okay. We're not doing the Martyrs. As fun as that would be. I feel like the Martyr... Why the long face type helmet? Yeah, for the Arctic Ranger. Yeah, it very much has that. Why the long face? Very Squidward-esque. Has a very big nose, very long nose. That nose that actually eclipses your mouth. Alright, we're not using a heavy gear set because these guys are moving through lighter terrain and scouting. That just feels like a really dumb idea. Okay. The dutiful is actually the Helghast one. Of course. Of course it's the Helghast one. Son of a bitch. Alright. The Drone Master, I think, is the goal, actually. It's rugged, it's durable looking, it's largely leather, which is actually what I'm going for once. I can add a lot of extra onto it as I need, but it works really well. It doesn't look like medium armor, does it? That boy looks like the love child of a Macintosh every single game console ever. It really does. And then there's the Alpha Commander, which is the super resilient armor set, which looks great. It really does. Just a little bit much for me. Okay. So we're going to combine... I love the boots on this. Love the boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants. We're going to zoom back here. Okay, let's see what the full armor set looks like. So they've got... Oh, nice! The Drone Master! Yeah! Alright. I actually love this helmet. This is actually one of the two helmets that's based off of... that Gentry's helmet is based off of. Fun fact, Gentry's first armor was actually a pure Drone Master set. Okay. So we have... Let's start off some sketches. Let's start some sketches off. So we're going to pop this in, and I'm going to just start doing some vaguing out. We're going to do some vague blocking. I'm going to grab a brush, grab some black, and we're going to just pop that off in the background so I don't have to look at it. And, you know, the watermark is nice, but I should have the watermark there. Let's make the watermark ludicrously huge. And really transparent, so that way I can work and not worry about it. There we go. Okay, cool. So that way if there's any screen cappers or anything, I don't need to worry too much about it. Not that I don't trust you guys, but it's going on YouTube, so you know how it is. It's going to be here forever. There's different considerations. Okay. So let's take a look at the Drone Master's gear. So I'm just going to sort of draw person in the field. Got our wide hips going on here. We've got boots. Because all Helldivers have boots. There we go. And we're just going to widen those out a little bit. We can widen the stance on the pants a little bit. It sort of comes up a little. There's like no shin guards on this, which is really funny to me. You think that if you're clambering over rocks and stuff, you'd have shin guards. But apparently these guys are like, nah, no need for that. Scraping our knees in the name of liberty? That's clearly important. Okay, here we go. Hey, Paul, good to see you. Genuinely, good to see you. How you doing, buddy? Alright, so we're pretty good on this. I'm going to take that and we're going to just pop that in. Okay, so they actually do have like this sort of interesting little feet thing going. These little boots are actually kind of cool. Our natural predators are free-roaming razor scooters. Yes, 100%. See, shin guards are for the weak. Our shins are strong. Yeah. As somebody who does a lot of biking lately, no. I need them. I need them, guys. I actually want to get a new pair. I really want to get a pair of them. I probably don't need them that much. But there's a lot of hills around here, so if I take a spill, it's not going to be at a low speed. It's going to be like me probably pulling 15, 20 on a bike, which is a great way to break your legs. So I'd like some protection. But these guys aren't me, so they don't have to worry about it as much. Okay, so we've got these really thick pants. Thick pants. There we go. So we've got this nice, like, very thick sort of look to it. As I pull them up a little bit so I can look. So the pants go up pretty high. These guys got grandpa pants. In reality, it's good hiking pants. As someone who used to do a lot of scouting, like, you wear your pants high because that way they have less of a chance of falling down. Alright. So we got this. I'm gonna pull this up a little bit. They've got like an actual shirt tucked in, which is really funny to me. They have a shirt tucked in really high there. Okay, and then the upper level, which is all extra armor and stuff. Okay. So we got this. I'm gonna sort of just vague that out. We have the shoulders here. We have the arms coming down roughly to about, roughly a little bit above the, yeah, roughly about, like, above where the little pads start. And then they sort of just come down a little more and end roughly about here. That gives us a nice, good hand. A good forearm shape. If I could send images that really... let's send the really low quality one of that one guy with the comically high trousers all the way up to his chest. Ah, yes. I think I know which one you're talking about. I'm just saying, Grandpa's got it right when it comes to that sort of thing. I actually, myself, like, for the first time in years, I actually tried a pair of suspenders on. And then I was like, oh no, I actually look kind of good in them. Damn it. My descent into old mandom begins at 30. I'm really not that old. I need to stop making those jokes. It's not that big a deal. There we go. Okay. And the only thing I don't like of that is where the hand sort of joins. There we go. That's not too bad. Okay, so they've got this armored kind of greave or gauntlet here. It's really a vambrace, I guess? Or, yeah, it's a vambrace. Because you have bracers are the inner arm, vambraces are the outer arm. And they have vambraces. So we'll do that. Now again, I'm not perfectly replicating the assets in the game because, one, I'm not a computer. Contrary to popular belief, I actually am not a computer. We're going to put this here. Put a little, just head here. Just a vaguely shaped head. There we go. So I can work around that for the helmet. And then we have the... I really like the Drone Master's, like, antenna circumstance here. This works really well. And we have, like, the other one. There's a cape back there, but we'll get to the cape after I've drawn the armor. That's what I've found works best for drawing Helldivers. Don't draw the cape until the end. Because the cape is arguably the toughest thing. Well, I thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Gentry would rock suspenders. I rock them relatively well. Omni does them pretty well. That's just me. So we've got this. Let's see. It's funny to me too because a lot of you guys know me as Omni, and a lot of you guys know me as Gentry. It's like the one. It's you split me between the two, because for my TTRPG folks, I've gone by Omni for a long time. As an artist, I've gone by Omni, but my most popular art is about Gentry. So, like... so, this is the real debate here. Ah, man. It's one of those, like, I really like the Stormtrooper-esque helmet. It's so good. For the Ravager. The Ravager helmet is... Well, let's see. There's the Ravager and there's, like, the other one. What is it called again? The Eradicator, I think? Yeah. So, okay. So I'm split between these two. I have the Eradicator, and then I have got... Where are you? Here we go, the Trailblazer. So the Trailblazer is, like, so perfect helmet-wise. The Trailblazer and the Eradicator. Which of these two dorks do I use? I feel like the one on the right is very Stormtrooper-y. The one on the left, though, has a hood. Contrary to popular belief, the antenna on their armor actually prevent them from eating them up too fast due to their amazing armor design. Yes, that is fair. Yeah, it's a very fair point. Here we go. Okay, so my thought. Yeah, the Eradicator has the Stormtrooper, for sure. The hood is so good, though. So this is really, I think what it comes down to is, what are they more likely to do? If they're actually just ranging ahead and not immersing themselves wholly in the hostile environment, like if it's more of a park rangery kind of vibe, I feel like the helmet Trailblazer on the left makes more sense, because it is built in like cameras, like it's built in scopes, it's designed to be quiet, it's very low impact. It's the sort of design that wouldn't interfere with your movement very much. Whereas on the right, that's more of a spelunker's helmet. That's the kind of helmet somebody wears when they're getting their ass beat by nature. Not by someone who's going through nature to study it, someone who's getting thrown through nature to endure it. It's the difference between somebody who studies wildflowers and somebody who studies bees, right? An apiarist is not wearing all that gear because they love their insects so much. They do. They really do. But more importantly, they don't love their insects' propensity to sting you. And I feel like that's what the Eradicator has. It has this very armored, rugged environment look. I think I just answered my own question. Yep, we're going with the Eradicator. Okay. I'm gonna copy the image of this thing here. Yeah, bro, just let me copy the image. There we go. Wait, perfect. Okay. So I'm just gonna take this, put this here as our perfect reference. Okay. So if I look at the helmet here, it's pretty standard. Marine biologist versus spearfisher. Yeah, there you go. Pretty much. Okay. So I'm going to pop in here. We're going to give this guy his beak. I'm going to save this here fast. So looking at the design, there's a little bit of a neck thing that juts out here. Like a lot of the helmets in Helldivers, they actually have a strong jawline, which is important when your jawline might have to deal with explosive fire. We're going to have a hardened antenna coming around on the sides. And we're going to slightly widen that helmet a little bit more too. It's got to read like the Scout Trooper helmet, so... There we go. And now it sort of comes up a little bit, and there's this really sharp hood that hangs out over it. We got a round off the back of the helmet here. There we go. Okay, so we got a pretty good silhouette. Walking up the axle 500 kg to land at my feet by outmogging it. Yeah, I mean, we've all done that, though. We've all done that. I don't think that's new. That's a very classic problem for Helldivers. The oops, I have no aim problem. Okay, we're going to move that a little bit out of the way. As far as capes go, I should think about some cape designs. So my thought is something teal, obviously, but I would need something that would work, aesthetically speaking. Miranda's Legacy actually looks like a pretty good one. That would be this one here. So something like that, but replaced with the colors of the Conservation Rangers, might work. So we're going to put that over here. Keep it off to the side. Okay. In terms of weapons, we're going with simple cut-down gear. These guys are not here to bust shit up. They're here to research out in advance. Alright. So let us figure this out. Okay. So let's get to doing a little bit more than just our base sketch. And I'm going to put these all in reference. Okay, cool. And I can delete all that. Yeah, we'll leave that there. Love watching you draw. Honestly, really good insight in how your drawing process goes along. In fairness, I tend to draw things very much shape-based, right? So, like, there's different ways of doing it when you're drawing, and I think it's important to show people that process. For me, I'm a silhouette person. I bulk things out. This is probably because I did a lot of my training in painting and in pastel and charcoal, as well as graphite. These are mediums that... Graphite you can erase pretty readily, but it tends to leave a lot of smears when you do it a lot. So, and I prefer a very clean aesthetic. So I used to do a lot of line art. And then, as I got older, my sketchy line art became sketchy blobs when I started doing charcoal and pastel, which you really can't erase as well. And then I moved on to acrylic, oil, and digital painting. And at that point, acrylic and oil you can't erase at all. Whatever you make, you make. You can technically strip the whole canvas, but that's about it. And that'll only happen like once or twice before you destroy the canvas. So... so I would usually block out a general shape, then add layers of lighting onto it. So that tends to be how I do it. And now that I work in a digital medium entirely, I can actually go in and, you know, edit shit. Like, I can actually remove stuff I don't like. Like that right there. That got a little lumpy. There we go. So this lets me get a pretty good silhouette of what I want people to look like, and then work around it. Here we go. We'll pull that out to there, because it's about where the belt is. Okay. So let's start pulling some colors here. We're going to go to our... various swatches and get to work. So this is going to be our leather swatches. Leather armor. Leather armor swatch. Okay, so we're going to start with a deep brown, migrate up to like a nice sort of beige. And then we're going to go from there to an even brighter shade. You ever spook yourself looking at another screen? I just did that to myself. I have Destiny 2 open on the left here, and I looked over and I just saw Banshee swaying at the counter, and I didn't even see Banshee because it's very faded out because I haven't been using the screen for a bit. And I spooked the ever-loving out of myself. I was like, oh god, what's that moving in the distance? And literally, I see my reflection in this screen because of the lighting. So I saw behind my reflection a figure just doing kind of a... that. Right behind me. And I was like, oh god, what the hell? Alright. We're gonna lighten that up. Reasonable reaction, Destiny 2, very scary from what I've heard. I actually very much enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to the new expansion. I'm looking forward to it enough where I'm going to be actually playing it next week on stream. Because they have a new expansion, I'm hyped. What can I say? I'm not going to apologize. Everyone has their guilty pleasure. Mine is a game I played for a decade. Hold on. That's not correct. Let's back that up a little. I want to condense this space a little more. There we go. So that'll give me a more accurate summation of the shape I should have. Beautiful. We're going to compress this a little more inward, so I can get a little bit of everything. Good, 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 good. Cool. So you've already got ourselves a pretty good swatch here. Boop. I'm going to put this up here. Okay, cool. If I actually move that down here... Yo, stop. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to move this here onto... right on top of that swatch. I'm going to select outside of it. Perfect. We're going to go here. I'm just going to delete everything outside of that. Perfect. And now you got a little leather swatch. A perfect little leather swatch. We're going to save that so I have reference to it later. Okay, and we also have our underlayer as well. We should probably get some of the underlayer colors. I will go with the slate gray. I don't need help with this one. This one's pretty straightforward. So we're going to go to, we have the visor swatch. I'm going to duplicate this. We're going to make a, actually we're going to go to this. We're going to duplicate the leather swatch here. This should be cloth swatch. The good news is I've actually got a pretty good, like, swatch here for that. I've just got to change that. A good, I'm gonna use that word till it loses all meaning for you guys. The swatch. Okay, cool. Then we're going to just merge that down. Beautiful. Cool. Alright, let's start it. I'm going to borrow this right over here. Okay, looking at the pants and the body and all this fun stuff, we're going to go with the belt. Hold on. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. That's a little more like it. So we have our belt. It's got a couple of buckles on here, actually. So I'm going to do my best to try to capture this accurately. So you got our belt, leading up to about there. Cool. So that's going to be that. We have a couple of lines, which I'm alright with. Want to have a little bit of aesthetic. There's some pouches and stuff here. And so I'm just going to start blocking these out with general color. This whole section here, I'm going to just chart out in advance, so that I don't fuck with it later. Here we go. I gotta say, folks, I'm actually very excited for the TTRPG game I'm running this Saturday. I'm really happy. Looks like we're having the whole crew back. It's been one of those, like, we've had a couple of really unfortunate couple of days. I've had friends who've lost people. I've had friends who've literally lost animals. Like, it's not been fun for a lot of them, and it'll be very nice to be able to, like, sit down and play a game with a lot of them again. There we go. Okay, cool. So that looks pretty good to me. We got our, like, the basic shape down. I don't know whose words to trust. I offered Pluto to suffer through a blind Pathologic 1 playthrough in exchange for me playing Destiny 2, and he outright refused it. Yeah, I think the real thing for me is that, like, I enjoy Destiny 2 because I enjoy it casually. I know for a lot of folks that sounds like a contradiction in terms. Destiny 2? Casual? How's that possible? And the answer to that is simple. I rather like my time. That's really what it comes down to. I'm not the kind of person that likes games that, like, brag about having a 60-hour-long playthrough or 140 hours of content, and I'm like, really? You think I'm getting through 140 hours of your game? I'm an artist. I'm also an organizer. I also collaborate with a bunch of people. I also have a committed relationship with a fiancé. Like, she's basically my wife. We just haven't tied the knot because of tax purposes. So, like, yeah, no, buddy, my life is spoken for. 140 hours is not in the cards. Right there is the reason I haven't played games like Bethesda's games. Like, I've played a little bit of Skyrim. I enjoyed Skyrim for a bit. I'm not gonna lie, I think Bethesda games are criminally ugly, and Skyrim's like the only exception. I tried Final Fantasy. I couldn't get into it. It's just too damn much. Like, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. And those games sprint right past it for me. They are right on that zone of like, yep, nope, way the hell too much. I have too much of a life for these games. And I say this as someone who is historically a giant dork. And even I'm sitting here like, nah, man, that's too much. Also, I did this all in the gray swatch layer. Agony. Alright, that's fine. I can condense this down. It'll be okay. Alright, so they've got like these weird little, like, sneakery kind of dealies. There we go. Okay, so we can sort of do that. And then I can take this. There we go. That's more like it. So I can get onto the swatch. To the gray cloth swatch. Hone that down a little. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. But yeah, so for Destiny, it's one of those games I can pick up, play for a few hours a week, get what I need out of it, be done with it, and put it down. That's my recommendation. Far be it from me, I'm 36 years old. I'm too old to defend video games. I don't think that Destiny 2 is for everybody. I do think it gets an insane amount of hate, because its fan base is comprised out of, I would say, some of the most incredibly unhappy people I've ever met. And I say this as someone who used to play Titanfall 2. And I had the same issue in Titanfall 2. Is it's a game that's really fun. It really captures a lot of people's, like, favorite aesthetics in games altogether. And when it doesn't hit their mark perfectly, they flip the hell out. Like, the developers know when they've done something wrong, because the Destiny community will lambaste the shit out of them. And I will say, like, I'm also not a fan of Bungie's executive team, but find me a video game whose executive team isn't a bunch of scum-sucking monsters, and I'll find you some really good propaganda. Like, that is not accurate, usually. Most people have to deal with that shit. Okay, so we're gonna just pull this in here. I'm gonna have the neck. Okay, cool. So you got some basic color here. Long and short, don't trust anybody who says that a game is perfect. In my experience, there's no such thing. Games are fun. They're meant to be fun. Play them as such. Okay, so that's going to be over the structure. This is going to be the color bases. Alright. So we're going to borrow this color now. And put this to work. Alright, we're going to take this, highlight this, we're going to start highlighting some of these shapes. Because we can. Is that, oh, that's why I was like, why isn't it highlighting? Having it actually selected helps, Omni. There you go. And then by doing this, this gives us a nice clothy kind of texture. I find if you need help drawing cloth, one of the best things you can do is focus on where light falls. I'm very light oriented, me personally. I build my whole life around the interplay of light and color. So if you can master where light falls, you don't need to know what something's anatomy really is to render it decently. Though I highly recommend studying anatomy. It helps a lot. Whenever I'm drawing up somebody, I do my best to try to draw them with some degree of anatomical accuracy. I'm not perfect. I'm not a machine. I can't draw, I can't render something down to the skeleton perfectly. But having at least a cursory knowledge of how joints work, of how they look, that helps so much when you're drawing. I cannot emphasize that enough. When I have folks talk to me, they're like, I don't know where to get started drawing, and I'm like, learn what you're drawing. Learn a little bit about what you're drawing, and it'll help you so much. So much. Also, make sure you're drawing for the right reasons. I don't think I should have to say this, but I will. There's a lot of folks out there that I've noticed who get involved in art, not because they're actually excited for the art, which is really unfortunate, but because they're driven to be accepted. And I gotta tell you, there's easier ways to disappoint yourself. Art is about expressing yourself. It is nice to get validation. I know. I'm not dead inside. I actually like validation. But it also means accepting that it's a journey that you will grow and get better in. And that there's no way around that. You will suck at drawing art for a while. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. That is not a bad thing. Do not take that as a bad thing. That's part of the process. If someone starts drawing and they're instantly good, I actually consider that a warning. Because those are the kind of folks that'll either be naturally gifted and thus not pay attention to the baseline skill sets they need to learn, or they are the kind of person that will kind of make it someone else's problem. Also, I realized I put this. I need to move these two up. It's like, where's my other swatch? There it is. It's buried. It's buried under there. Good. Okay, we're saved. Alright, so we're going to keep going. I'm going to get to my leathers now. I hope you have your leathers on. Alright, we're going to go down here. Okay. So, the funny thing is, the Drone Master has a very interesting chest plate. This is what I wanted. There we go. So, it's actually got 3 parts to it. One, it's got this segmented, chest plate system, which is actually pretty cool. I actually really dig the chest plate, because it's very practical. You don't see that very often in science fiction. I actually have seen a couple folks talk about how the Helldiver armor is surprisingly well-designed armor. Its sole purpose is to be mobile. And I think this is, the perfect example of that. It's very flexible. It's very convenient. It's armor that a person is weirdly meant to wear. It's funny that this game, with this exceedingly goofy premise... And yes, it is a goofy premise. I love Helldivers too. But guys, we're fighting for Super Earth, because Earth wasn't super enough. It's allowed to be goofy. But yeah, this game that has this very goofy premise has this incredible design team at it. And I'll be honest, they're crushing it. They really are. Their armor looks plausible. And we know that because a lot of folks who do cosplay of Helldivers are like, yeah, this is some of the most comfortable cosplay I've ever worn. Some of the easiest to put on because all the straps and stuff are built into it. I didn't have to imagine it. I didn't have to hide that stuff. They sort of just lead with it. And I think that's really good. From a design standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. And I like that. I wish more games actually gave a little bit of a shit in their visual design, especially science fiction. I'm really tired of the World of Warcraft-esque all my armor is floating hunks of something. And that the undersuit is just nothing. That's really shitty. I want a design that feels real. At least a little bit. Okay, so that comes to And it comes along and then sort of pulls down here. It's got this very interesting segmented structure. So unlike the I almost call them truth inspectors. Unlike the truth enforcers, these guys are not out there looking pretty. These guys are out there doing hard work. So I think their armor isn't going to be like covered in filigree or anything. It's not going to be super fancy. It's going to be very practical and pragmatic in its design. Here we go. We're going to put that there. So I might just add like a splash of color onto it. It's like a single like paint splash. I tend to do that where I'll like add a line of color to denote something. I blame Star Trek for that. It's a very easy way to denote like, hey, this person works in this department. How can you tell? Oh, easy. They're wearing the red shirt or the green shirt or the blue shirt or the gold shirt. Are they security? They're gold shirts nowadays. They used to be red shirts, but they probably changed that because they got tired of watching all the red shirts die. Alright, here we go. But yeah, that sort of like visual aesthetic works very well for me. I'm going to redesign the helmet a little bit in terms of the fact that I want it to be beige. I do not want it to be green. The green looks good, but I'm not sure how well it's going to mesh with the rest of the armor set. So we're going to combine these elements together. My rule of thumb is if I need more than 5 swatches to make that character, I shouldn't. Basically. I'm drawing something that needs to be drawn in a webcomic. So if I can't draw it like that, at speed, over and over again, I will regret it. I will. Not my viewers, me. And I am 36 and rather like my sleep cycle. So I'm going to keep it as intact as I can. And here we go. We're going to have that going into there. It's like a little strip that goes underneath. Okay, cool. And then we've got this section here, which is like all beige. Which is funny to me, they've got this like really rugged kind of like strap system for the drone master, right? Like the drone master whose whole job is just like, I send UAVs out. Which I think is why I like this armor set for it. I feel like these guys do a lot of recon, and it's probably a lot of drone-assisted recon. So, they probably use a lot of UAVs and stuff. Which, for Super Earth, I'm pretty sure that would just look like their dogs. Just like a less weaponized version of their dogs. Okay, cool. And then the rest is fine. So we're coming along with this good aesthetic, I think. Let's start busting this up a tad. We're going to grab a black, and we're going to start carving into this. So there's like one area right about here. Sort of comes down to a fine point. Cool. Saving. Blocking out. Cool. Cool. Okay, we sort of take that. I'm just going to add some little, like, leathery strap details in so that I can see where they go. There we go. Now, this one's weird. It's got this, like, pockmark pattern going across it. I think I'll go with 5 rows. Or, yeah, we'll go with 4 rows. We'll go with 4 rows. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, a little loose on that. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So we've got ourselves a pretty good look already. I'm going to take this and sort of put this on the outside and then have a little divot there. Same thing, have a little divot there too. Cool. So it's already working. We're going to have one here. So I'm guessing these are where there's like straps underneath the armor set. So that's sort of like almost sutures that go through it. That would be my thought. If you were to pin me to the wall and say, how does this work? And I'd say, that's probably how it works, don't hurt me. And then I'd probably pee myself because I'd be terrified. But that's, I think, how it works. So you've got this. Cool. So now we can get in on this and kind of like help sort out some of the shape here. Here we are. And I tend to do this just to like differentiate the shape of the actual cloth a little bit. Get some of that black properly laid in there. Because the area between creases tends to be incredibly dark. So it's a great way to immediately differentiate something. You're like, oh, how does that work? Oh, like that. Okay. There we are. Okay, cool. So it's looking alright now. Let's add a little bit more detail. I love the radio. I think the radio looks great, so we're going to keep the radio. I have this little, like, nubbin coming off the side. And that leads all the way up to here. There's this antenna that comes all the way through. Cool. So let's get the rest of this going. It's very strong. We're going to put this at 45. So I can build up to that color. There we go. Just letting you talk really nice. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Can you tell I used to do content creation on Twitch for a while? I actually used to play Titanfall 2 a lot. That was my primary game for the longest time. Fun times. Fun times. See, sorry for being AFK. I was being beaten up by sentient sedentary rocks. Yeah, no, you're good. Sedimentary, sorry. It's supposed to sedentary, where it's, they're just sitting there. No, no. Sedimentary rocks. It's a type of rock. I know you're rockin' stoning it up over there. You're good. No worries. The funny thing is there's a lot of games out there I would love to play, but I just don't have the PC space for it. Unfortunately, that is one of the curses about being an artist, is like, even if you're judicious about how you store your stuff, and I'm pretty ruthless about it, to the point where I just lost like 20 years worth, or like, sorry, not 20, I lost like 4 years worth of work a few months ago, because I was like, no, I must have more space, I'm going to save this on my backup drive exclusively, and my backup drive failed. It is an experience that you as an artist will always have, is I want to do things, and then you can't, because you don't have the memory. It's not even that your computer's bad. My computer's relatively new. It's just like, you think a terabyte is a lot of space, and then you see how modern gaming just blasts through it with no effort at all. But that's also an optimization issue. I'm really over how game developers just don't want to optimize their product anymore. It's very frustrating to me. I'm sitting here going, hey guys, you know what I would like? I would like a game I could play and also still be professionally active on my computer. Okay, thanks. That's all I want. It's not a big request. Please stop releasing your games with like 100 gigabyte fucking games. There's no way what you've made needs that much space. That's just insulting. Okay, so we've got this pretty good look now. Yeah, so Vano, barely able to run deep rocket medium settings. No, that's fair. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I actually used to play a lot of Warframe. I used to play a lot of Warframe. Loved that game. Super fun. Do you know how big Warframe is now? Warframe is ludicrously huge. And, like, the guys over at Digital Extremes are better than most developers by that kind of thing. In fairness, it's also because, you know, Warframe is like a legit MMO in the Destiny sense. Destiny is also a ludicrously huge file, if I were to download all of it. But it's so big, I just can't. I'm already pushing the edge of what I can feasibly do. Shout out to DRG for being under 3 or 4 gigs. Yeah. Being honestly worth 1,000 hours of casual fun. Yeah, I feel you on that. That's been my experience with, like... I've been having a lot of fun with Terranel. Terranel's a really fun game. Into the Breach, FTL, Fast and Light. They're all great. Indie games are so good about that. Indie games are doing all the things game developers should be doing, but they're doing it on 1/1,000,000th of the budget, and thus they earn my endless respect. And I think my AC just coughed at me. Ah, yeah, I think it did. It's probably from the rain. Alright, so we've got our armor pretty well in hand here. I do need to get the knee pads, so we're going to do that fast. So we got one. And this is usually how I'll do it in the comic. I'll just take like a simple pass over something, call it a day. Because I don't really need to do the extreme edge of every little detail. Unless I'm doing like a really big close-up panel. It's kind of unnecessary. And largely, it just takes up way too much time. Okay, so then we're going to take this. That's going to be one pad. And a second pad over the top of it. Nice. Alright. I'm going to pull this down. Your AC caught the sickness too. It better not. It's fucking summer. You better stay in service, good sir. The funny thing is, living up north, there's actually no time that I don't need my air conditioning unit. Because if it's winter, it's a heater. If it's summer, it's... Oh, it's so mandatory as an AC nowadays, even in Vermont. I guess fall and spring, it's not that bad, but you still want to be relatively cool. Thank God, these smoothies. Thank God I learned how to do smoothies. Oh, I don't know what I'd be like without that. Okay. Let's try to do the helmet. I'm going to regret this effort, but it'll be worth it at the end of the day. This is all the leather armor swatch, I'm sure, isn't it? Yes, it is. Agony. It's fine. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Hello. What a fun decision you made to fly out there. Didn't you? We're going to zoom that out again. Let's try that dance again. X? Yep. All on the wrong layer. Let's fucking go. Okay. Wait. Beautiful. Perfect. Exquisite. Merge down. Perfect. We're going to save this. I keep doing that. I'm like, let me select this. And it's because I had to move these up. Time suffering would go through if I was ever to make a webcomic. Yeah, it's, you know, it sounds a lot worse than it really is. The issue is not, like, the suffering of, like, oh, I fucked something up. Actually, your bigger issue is 100% going to be how much energy it will take you to maintain it. It isn't even that it's that bad. It's that it is just a relentless objective. You cannot ever stop. And of course you can. Like, please, like, manage your life. For God's sake, it's more important that you're healthy and happy and you know your friends and your family than it is to be ruthlessly, like, sticking to a webcomic. But if you're doing it professionally like I am, it does cut into your social life a little bit. I have repeatedly had to turn down things because I'm like, yeah, I'm already chock full, sorry. That's where your suffering's mostly going to come from. But every once in a while, you will run across the, god dang it, that's the wrong layer, like I do every single time. And you'll get real acquainted with your Control-Z feature. Like, really acquainted. You're gonna become good friends with your keyboard. I tell you that. Okay, so we pull our nose down here. It's got this kind of fun little nose. Got these weird things on the sides of the nose. And it sort of comes around. Okay, then we sort of pull this around here. And then we just sort of fill this spot in. And it doesn't look too bad already. That's pretty manageable. Now we're going to get in here and just gently cut this a little bit. This tends to be, by the way, how I do panel lining. I do highlighting, and then I do a very dark black edge, like, I guess, edge shade. And that gets me whatever shape I need it to be, pretty easily. With very little muss and fuss. Again, I highly encourage anyone who wants to get into drawing this kind of thing. Learn about light. Just trust me. Trust me. It will save your butt so often. You'll never regret learning about it. Ever. Plus, it also helps you in your day-to-day life, too. People don't really think about it, but there's a lot of times where they'll really not understand optics and it'll fuck with their ability to see things. But when you actually understand how light starts to work, how your eyes actually pick it up, you'll start seeing stuff that, like, normally you would have just never thought to look for. And then you start seeing and you're like, oh, that's why it's hard to spot. It actually does improve your ability to perceive things. It's weird like that. Okay, so we got this weird two-part thing here. There's one here, there's one there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to simplify this mechanism here because they have this really convoluted kind of doohickey. And it doesn't really serve me to draw that every freaking time. So I won't. I will not. I refuse. Good day, sir. And I just poked a thing. Here we go. We're going to flop in here. And I'm just going to pull that in a little bit so we can see that it actually sort of leans in a tad. Awesome. Alright, now we can do the edge highlight again. Let's see. I know my ass is not going to be able to greeble everything up. Yeah, don't. Just do it for, like, the high detailed stuff. Choose, like, one greeble. That's my advice. Choose one greeble for every character you'll always draw. That's actually what I do with Gentry. With Gentry, the greeble I always draw for him, no matter what I'm doing, no matter, like, what level of the webcomic I'm at, I will always draw the greebles on Gentry's face. So, I will always draw this line, this light line, his eyes, and his optics. Combine that with the antenna, and, like, this part here is basically all the detail Gentry's ever gonna need. Everything else is kind of irrelevant. Like, I do try to get the shoulder pads, they're really vagued out. I have, like, a glowing greeble in the center of Gentry's chest for his armor. But other than that, like, this is as greebly as I need his design to be. And it holds up pretty decently, too. Also chewing on their helmet like a Kinder Egg, yeah. No, I feel you on that. It very much has Kinder Egg vibes, doesn't it? Alright. And we're just going to lift that up here a little bit. We're just going to very quickly hit the edge of this. So this kind of sticks a little more. And then we can sort of catch the edges of this little greeble. Pull that up. And now we can see, with just minimal work, we've got a pretty decent aesthetic here. We've got an immediate silhouette that works. It'll show up just about anywhere and look fine. So the top of the helmet needs to be the brightest. So we're going to put this at 25% and get to work. Because that face is like directly up. There's literally nothing else on this helmet that should be brightest. That should be brighter than this thing is. And we're just going to take that, pop that over here. I'm going to add a little bit of extra detail to this here and there, where I can. Okay, cool. So it's looking all right. We're doing A-okay. Sorry, that was my Terminid pet speaking. I taught him how to use electronic devices. Cute. He's crunchy. He is crunchy, though. He really does look like a candy egg because of that helmet. Down here, we're going to do a little extra detail, which is going to be fun. So, just make sure I'm on the right layer. Good, I'm on the right layer. I'm going to save. I'm going to close some of this stuff up here because I don't need all of it. We definitely don't need the Inspector 3 face. Here we go. Okay. So when you want something to look like cloth, there's a couple of solutions to it. One, and probably the easiest one, don't add too much detail. Like, when you're doing edge highlighting like I do, the urge to just add all the detail is there. Don't. It's a bad mistake. It's a great and easy way to flummox something up. So, like, I'm going to add some detail here, but I'm going to avoid adding all of it in. I easily could, but it wouldn't do me any... It really wouldn't serve me in any capacity. It'd just be extra work that'll muddle the design a little bit. Just where it's, like, visually relevant, sort of make things stand out. So that's one. Two, add scratches. Scratches and scuffs are your best friend when you're dealing with leathers. So, like, as an example, like with metals, you can do it too, but like with leather, it can be just about anything. Anything at all can scratch leather. It's whether it lasts or is visible or meaningfully, like, impactful that kind of matters. Like, if you've ever sat in a leather chair, by the time it gets to that old age, like, it's crinkled, it's cracked, it kind of feels like you're sitting almost on plastic wrap at times, because it just gives so much. It's, oh god, there's like a specific, like, leathery feeling that's really hard to explain. When it gets to that age where you can feel it, like, rubbing off on you almost, because it's so, the surface is so fucked. Well, that's what combat armor that's made of leather does. It kind of just gets fucked eventually. And so if you sketch that, it works a lot. When it looks like someone's grandparents, hey, just saying, my grandma went to her grave looking incredibly good. Okay, she made it to 90s, I think it was 93? 93. And she did incredible. My family ages like fine wine, you know? the line of Omnitects, we're not called the last Omnitect because we go first. I'm called the last Omnitect because I'm gonna outlast all y'all. Unless something horrible happens. Probably shouldn't mess with that, actually. That's a pretty big knock on wood moment there. I don't even believe in superstition, but I sure as hell believe in not taking my chances with my morality, or my mortality, or anything relevant. Anyway, highlight the edges. So when you're doing like creases and stuff, it's literally a two-tone shade. That's all you really need. Choose one side that the light would play from. I usually recommend the side that's opposite from where the light falls, where you can. That will tend to make it look a little more realistic. So in this case, I'm making the light fall from the left of this person. From their perspective of left, by the way. Not ours, theirs. So that means that light is going to naturally fall on whatever the leftmost part of the crease is, unless it's really downward facing. And by doing this, we automatically get just like a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of visual detail that adds texture and automatically just makes it look better. Like, look at that. Just like a little bit of effort. Look at that. Ain't that nice? Let me just zoom in there so you can get that crunchy, delicious leather. Oh, looks just like the back of my uncle's car. His old car. He actually takes care of his cars. But I remember there was a Miata. He used to have when I was very young, he owned a Miata. And those seats were great when he first bought them, and by the time they went, they were a little crunchy. So, that's kind of what we're going for here. And by doing this, we can now go in with like a 15%, and we can sort of lighten that up even more. And when you paint between the lines, literally, of these creases, it actually increases their visibility even more, making them very, very easy to work with. Okay, cool. Good pork chop right now, looking at that leather. Mm-hmm. Crunchy. Tasty. Alright, so we're going to take this. I'm going to grab this little guy, 75, and he's going to be right here. And then I think there was another one that was like right over here to the left. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So you've got that texture more or less down. I'm going to start picking out some details here. Like a little bit of the keypad, which is going to look a little weirdy. It doesn't need to look very fancy. I'm going to hit this with like a slightly like green, like a sea green kind of a color here. This will make this stand out more as like an actual panel. There we go. And now we can sort of tuck the top of it in a little bit. And beautiful. Already we have a pretty good aesthetic. I do need to add a little bit more detail to some of this, though. Because this is actually hard plastic. And by thunder, we gonna use it. So this is where that greeble is gonna really come into play. I also highly recommend abbreviating your greebles with Helldivers again, because it's a very, very pretty, like, greebly system, but it's very, very detailed. So just, like, highlighting the edges gets you a lot of detail really fast with low effort. And whenever you're drawing a webcomic, low effort is the goal. It's actually really funny. When I first got into the webcomic and I realized, like, some people were like, wow, so you're painting? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you're gonna regret that. And I was like, I don't know why you'd say that. And now that I'm further into it, I'm like, okay, I understand why. Because you have to replicate it every week. Week after week. It becomes a lot. I don't regret doing what I've done, actually, but I do understand exactly what they were trying to convey to me. It's a very distinctive amount of work that I'm putting into this. I want to go down here. We're going to get these leggies, these knee pads. Here we go. It's this way, I think? Yeah, like that. And then we're going to sort of pull that down. That's going to be 45. We'll do the same thing on the other side fast. Okay, cool. Put that at 25, and we're going to start pulling this over. Because these are actually metal, so... Or at least the ceramic that they use, so it actually is a little bit brighter. I want to slightly yellow that a little down. There we go. I'm going to warm that a little bit. And when in doubt, you can always go over what you've done already with a lower tone, like a slightly darker but the same shade. And it basically acts like an eraser. It helps slightly tonally match things a little more. There we go. Cool. So we're more or less vibed out on the general shape. Just gotta get the helmet visor here. I'm gonna zoom over to the visor colors, because I do have the visor swatch. And we're going to change that. I want this to match the colors of the, like, not the company, but the division. So we're going to go to, like, this teal turquoisey kind of vibe. I'm going to save this. It's saved. We're going to go to our HSL, and we're going to slide this around a little. So hue, saturation, and luminosity shift. Bring that bad boy into compliance. Let's go. It's a nice emerald green. Beautiful. Saving that. Okay, cool. I'm actually going to hit this with an overlay, because overlays work freaking wonders for this kind of thing. Overlay. Oh, that's on the visor swatch. I almost did the dumb thing again. Color base, baby. Color base. So this actually has, like, a little bit of shine to it, but not as much as you'd think. So we're going to just get this in there. And I'm going to start doing some hard light and some vivid light. Put this at like 45. Actually, we'll do this at like a normal. Let's zoom over here, grab that color again. Swap this around. These memories will always have the these Helldivers will always have the memories of the famous Taco Bell Baja Blast, whenever they may be, reminding them what they're fighting for. Indeed. Truer words were never spoken. Alright, here we go. So we're going to take this. And I'm going to do what I usually do. If you want to denote where glass ends, I highly recommend giving it this really super sharp contrast around the edge. Even in the dark, where you can. Like, it can be a little dimmer, but it should still be this super strong contrast. There we go. So you got that. We're going to zoom in a little more. Put this at like 15 or so. And then a little reflection off of that. Okay. Let's highlight this even harsher. I'm going to pop this bad boy onto Vivid Light. Vivid Light and Hard Light are kind of my, if I really want to cut through something and get like the brightest possible shine. The result is very striking. It practically glows. Which, you know, it's the whole point. It is a glow, technically. It is a glow. There we go. Alright, so now we got that. I'm going to slap this bad boy with a white, the brightest white I can. We're going to put this on Hard Light. There we go. Good. So now we got a good one. The ones with the big visor, the battlesuits from Gundam. Oh! There's so many of them that qualify. GM for the Universal Century, the Leos for the Gundam Wing universe. There's like 8 different variations of that I've seen between Witch from Mercury and the latest one, G-Cooks. The modern GMs, the gun cannon. Gun cannon had the helmet thing going on. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure that's the GMs are the ones you're thinking of. The Federation mobile suits that are basically the off-brand Gundams that have the bubble face. That's GM. Alright. So let's get this bad boy here. Now we're going to do this not with hard light, but we're actually going to do this with an overlay effect. By doing this, this will get us the darker shade we're looking for the shadow without suppressing the underlying colors. There we go. We're going to go over this one more time. I'm going to do this on this side. And again, by doing this, we're effectively giving color depth. And now I'm going to pop this back to normal. And I'm just going to put a simple black line here to denote that this is a hard plastic. It's not leather. And it is very clearly there's some mold lines there and connecting points that do not go. They don't work together. They're not the same part at all. They are hard, separated pieces. We'll do the same thing on this side. And then I have like this little area here that I'm going to add that hard divide into. And then right here. So the top of this actually has some pretty severe mold lines there. So we're going to catch those just very quickly. And make it very clear the top of this helmet is separate from the visor. And just like that, we got ourselves a pretty good helmet design. It's pretty close to the original aesthetic. But now we're recolored so that it matches the beige gear worn by everybody else. Love the visor, the sheen's glossier than Mr. Clean's forehead. That's the plan, baby. You can't make it pretty unless you throw so much gloss onto it. That was the mistake I made when I first got into miniature painting as a kid. I primed everything gloss, including the cloth. That was dumb. I should say I primed. I lacquered it all with gloss. As an adult, I look back on that and I go, it did make the armor look very shiny, but it made the clothing look very shiny, so it looked like my guys were wearing saran wrap. But for this, it'll do fine. So we're not done yet. I got one last detail I want to add onto this. So I'll come back and do more work on it. It's already pretty good to go. But this is going to be the color splash. So this is where we get to do some fun. I happen to have a swatch here, and we're just going to borrow the colors used by the Ministry. Literally one-to-one. These are exactly the same colors. I have done no alterations to them. Now we're going to give our boy some piping. Now what's piping? Piping is the color you often don't pay attention to, but is an accent color in a uniform. To wit, you can now see, if we zoom in really close here, there's red piping right here along that clothing. It's not just there. It's basically everywhere. It follows all the way down their arms between the gloves. You can see it's their whole undersuit. Their pants don't really have it. Well, wait. It does have piping. Look at that. Look at that. You love it. It's a great way to make a uniform immediately look like it is military, because the military often uses piping to denote things. Chuck some paint on them like you're playing Splatoon. Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. But you can even see this has piping too. So we're going to do some piping on this thing. We're going to save it. Okay. Now, piping doesn't always need to be colored. Sometimes it can be the same color as the rest of your uniform. And oftentimes militaries will do that. They'll just be like, hey, is this a service uniform? It has gray piping. Piping actually has a dual purpose of both adding stylization, but also naturally creasing clothing in a certain direction, so it naturally falls a certain way. We're kind of doing that a little bit here. I'm just going to pop here, grab this fast. Let's add the line in where the piping's going to go. So we're going to sort of take that along here and have it go all the way down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Have this reach all the way up along here. It's going to go down. Now there is this little area over here that I wanted to get, which I will now. And I kind of like the idea of incorporating the logo into them somewhere, but we'll get to it. Okay. And by doing this, this is an extremely easy way to separate this uniform, which is pretty much stock off the shelf, from the uniform that a normal Helldiver would wear. These guys now have a differentiation. That immediately marks them as a member of a different department. I'm going to have this one sort of go back here a little bit behind the pant leg, so it can sort of disappear as we need. There's also one on this side, but we're going to see a little bit of it. It's mostly behind there. I'm going to have like a little bit of that piping reaching down to about here, because we did see piping on the suit before. And now we're going to do a little bit of extra detail. Let's see, never suspect the piping bandits sneaking into their barracks and eating all their uniforms piping like pasta. A nightmare. A nightmare. Horror show. Never. Death. 1 million years dungeon. Alright, so here we go. Now we're going to do this, but I'm just going to do it on parts of the armor. So I like the idea of an asymmetrical color. An asymmetrical color splash. Usually I used to do like lines and stuff on a lot of my sci-fi stuff. I still do. You can see it especially in some of my legacy work for my TTRPG. Let's open up my stuff over here. We're going to go to the Avanti sector. Communes. The communes do a lot of it. Where they just have like a color offset on their stuff. That's right. The best example is the Vox Enforcer that I drew. This guy. This is from my own bespoke sci-fi setting. Legacy First Flight, the game I'm going to be running this Saturday, is from this setting. And that is a uniform worn by one of the guilders. Think of them as like mining workers that throw themselves in together, their lots in together. But I often will use to denote them from each other, like somewhat complicated off-center red splashes with different designs to denote different subgroups. The same concept works here. It's sort of like a racing stripe. At a glance, you can immediately identify them as part of a regiment or something. So this is going to be on the color splash layer, so I can erase as I need. A little too thick. Let's try that. And then it can come down. I might just have it on the top of the helmet there, and not on the nose. And then pull this all the way down. No, hold on, I still have an erase. There we go. So by doing this, one, I'm making it relatively easy to like carry this color all across the uniform. And two, since it's on a separate layer, I can now come back after it and just beat it from wherever I don't want it to be. Slap it away. It'll keep whatever texture is underneath it pretty neatly. So really, the only issue is when there's not supposed to be a texture at all. We can just pick that up. Perfect. And just like that, the 18th Conservation Rangers. We're gonna give this dude a cloak later, but right now this is solid. I don't need to do much more work on it. It immediately separates them out. Visually, at a distance, if I were to draw this on the draw a comic book like panel with one of these guys in this at like a height less than 2 inches, it would still instantly be recognizable because we have a distinctive contrast color, by the way. So orange and blue, orange and blue are on opposite sides of the color wheel. Tan and green are also slightly color shifted equivalents. So they are a contrast. So in this case, a turquoise tan instantly stands out. I guess technically it's a complementary to, I can't remember exactly the terms, like, contrast colors are opposite on the color wheel. Complementary colors are nearby on the color wheel. So this is a complement to a contrast of beige by using the turquoise. Does that make sense? Hold on. Why am I trying to show this to you this way when I literally can just do the color wheel? Duh. That's actually the better solution. So, the almighty color wheel. As we can see, the color we're using here is this aqua shade. Opposite of it, and a little off of the edge, that's actually our beige. So it's not a direct contrast, but it's a pretty solid complementary to a contrast color, thus giving us a distinctive, striking, and visually accessible at any distance, unless someone is colorblind, in which case I'm so fucking sorry, color pigment that can be identified anywhere in the comic. And even if you're colorblind, unless you are, I don't know if there's a colorblind specifically blue, green, brown that turns to gray, but unless that is a specific thing, these are technically not pure contrasts. They will read differently off of each other. So this should not look like it's pure gray, no matter what we do. That's the whole point. Visual design, folks. Accessibility is a feature, not a bug. And, oh, one more thing I can do, which I absolutely should do. Let's do this fast. I'm going to take this, move this over here, And we're going to have some fun with these logos. I'm going to call... These are just going to be patches. No. There we go. Patches. Cool. Okay. I like the idea of this dude actually having, like, the logo on their, on their chest somewhere. This feels like the kind of thing Super Earth would absolutely do. So I will do it. And then on the other side, we can grab this, shrink it, tilt it, until it fits neatly in there. There we go. Alright, let's save this fast. Let's begin the flummoxing. We're going to rotate that a little bit. Just pull this down a tad. Yeah, that'll do. There we go. So we'll just have it sort of sitting out there a little more like that. Rotate that a little bit more at an angle. And by doing this, this is actually allowing us to adjust the shape to match the fabric, which is really convenient. Apply. Bam. And just like that, I can take this thing, scoot it over here, rotate it a little if I need, which I will do. And then I can just go in here and just slash it all down. There we go. And we'll do the exact same thing with our other ministry patch here. So by doing this, we can actually alter the shape and trajectory of the armor and the tilt that it would have. Beautiful. And we can apply that. And just like that, we've got it. We nailed it. A nice, easy, visually identifiable thing. Should work perfectly. And the best part is now I can go in here and just kind of like 25% scratch this up a little bit to match with the busted up leather of the clothing. And just like that, we have an aesthetic that matches the medium. This is decaling. For those of you who don't do miniature hobbying, like miniature modeling hobbying, this is like one of the most common skill sets that people often will learn. It's a type of weathering where you can be like, yeah, it's a decal. You can spray this on there and it'll look good. But if you add like a little weathering, it'll make it look like it's been spray painted and scratched. Yes! Oh, that looks so good. Delicious. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of today's webcomic art stream. I will be back this Saturday to do a little bit of my TTRPG Let's Play, Legacy First Flight, on my other channel, which is Unicorn Head Studios. Unicorn Head Studios. You guys can find it as I open this up over here. You guys can find the link to this place right over here. Please go, subscribe, follow. Same thing here, by the way. Just slap that subscribe button a couple times. You know, do it an odd number of times, please, so it sticks. Likewise, also slap that like button. Leave me a comment on this video, because this is YouTube. And even after the fact, it always is helpful. It helps boost the algorithm. And then finally, if you really want to support the channel, which I always appreciate when you guys do, and I appreciate it because I, you know, unfortunately, money. I always would love any support you guys are willing to give. Thank you, as always, to my incredible patrons. Tier 1, Ampersand, Heinrich, Atlas. You guys are great. Thank you very much at my $6.99 a month. And then at my $11.99 a month, I have my awesome Necronimals and Souls rolls. You guys are incredible. Please, at least follow me on Patreon, because that's where I put all my webcomics up for free, the entirety of them. And also you'll see all my updates and stuff in regards to TTRPGs as they come along there. If you're a subscriber and you actually are a paying patron, you'll get access to my webcomics 2 weeks early And also, as my TTRPG stuff drops, you will get free access to it in alpha and beta form. And eventually, if we get enough actual subscribers, I'd like to just give my TTRPG content away completely for free on my Patreon. I don't know how crazy that sounds to you, but that's pretty freaking nuts. Because I've been working on this stuff for 20 years, and I'm giving it away for free. So, please, help me give you guys shit. Thank you guys so much. You're incredible. Take care, Voyagers, and I'll see you out there.